Hi, I'm Ruth Helen, and I want to talk with you about something that happened in my family, and it has to do with revival in Norway. And I'm also going to touch on one Billy Graham said with my great grandpa. So stay tuned for this video from Green Hippies and Go for Green Living. So this is a long story that I'm trying to make short, and I usually don't like sharing private things, but this is too important because this has to do about something great, and I think it would be bad not to share it. Many years ago in Europe, in Scandinavia, there was a revival. There was a revival going on many places in America and Europe and everywhere, but it didn't reach Scandinavia. It had been in Finland, and I mean it started in Sweden and Finland, but it didn't reach over to Norway. And before I go on with the story, I have to tell you that there was a truth witness that was in this particular meeting in Norway that saw what happened between my great grandpa and his adversary. And he was a little boy at that time. And when he heard my name, uh, we arranged a meeting. So me and my mom went with my boss, which knew this gentleman, and we gathered in her home, and he told us his story. He was an elder gentleman when he told us this. So this is what he said. My great grandpa in Trondheim in Norway, he was a well-known Pentecostal. He was rich. Once a week, he gave food to the poor. But he had somebody that they had a dispute, and they just could not figure out how to solve this dispute. So they were like mortal enemies ish, as far as I understand. And he did not want to forgive, and you can forget because they went to the same congregation, right? So one day, my great grandpa, he gets up, and tears are streaming down his face, and he walks up the aisle, and his opponent or enemy or adversary, he gets up, and the place is filled with the spirit, and they go and they hug each other, and they just hold each other, and tears are flying, and I get goosebumps just talking about it. And that's when revival broke loose. It started there, and it spread in the rest of Norway, and it was a key moment. I was a little bit hesitant to talk about this because it sounds so grandeur, right? But guess what happened? Later on, Billy Graham, when he went on his world tours, everybody knows him, a very famous American preacher, evangelist. He brought millions to faith. He would fill stadiums. Well, he came to Norway, and he came to Trondheim, and he stayed with my great grandpa. um, this was, of course, a big moment, but I also later met his daughter, Anne Graham Lotz, at a conference in Oslo. I didn't know this story back then. If not, I would have introduced myself probably, but you know, who am I anyway? So, but anyway, so I met his daughter, which she was a nice lady. The thing about what happened when Billy Graham visited my great grandpa, my mom's elder siblings, they thought it was hilarious that they had somebody famous coming, right? And like all children, they were full of mischief, right? So, oh, maybe not your children, so yes, but many children had this. And this was before television and stuff like that, so they just, kids were creative. Turns out that my great grandpa, he was a butcher, so he had, he would butcher, and he had like, they found a skull, right, from a dead animal. I think it was from a pig, but I'm not sure. I would not say that part. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they had a skull, and they put a flashlight inside the skull. And this was, it was night, it was raining, the wind was blowing. They put harpics on the thread and then lowered it outside Billy Graham's window, bedroom window. So he would look out and he would see the skull with the lights coming out and it's like, so the stories you hear anyway, he did not get scared. And just, yes, that was my family anyway. That's just an anecdote. Um, but I just find it interesting that in my family we also had, on my father's side, we had, it was more like they weren't Pentecostal, like they were more atheist. And I grew up in a home where my mom was like a very liberal, love everybody. And she had a personal faith, but we never went to church or things like that, right? So I grew up to be like a colorful, atheistic intellectual. And I was not. I had a meeting with God when I was 12, when I got my vision, and it was like grand. And then I spent 17 years on the dark side, and that taught me that that's not where joy or happiness is. So when I saw the light, when Yeshua showed himself for me, and God decided I was right, and He started to show me my ancestry, I was quite shocked that I developed a love for Israel. And I was praying every year for 9 years to be able to go to Sukkot in Israel, and it never worked out. But the ninth year, there was an opening. On Facebook, there was this woman called Anne Deborah Goldman, and I didn't know her, but my friends knew her and they vouched for her. So I contacted her, and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm full for Sukkot, but you can come for Rosh Hashanah for Yom and Yom Kippur." That's like Yom Teruah and Yom Kippur. There's like the 10 days there in September, October. And so I was like, sure, I'll go. So I went to this sweet old lady. She'd probably kill me if I call her old. But she is an awesome person, full of integrity. Um, she is a prayer woman, and just hold on, I'm getting to a very, very interesting point. How circles come full, because I didn't even know that I had Pentecostal in my family bloodline from my great grandpa, right? So when I came into faith, my aunt is like, the circle is full. And it turned out that he was a Pentecostal, and that's the church I ended up in first. So that was quite amazing, going full throttle from one thing to the other thing. But I've been there now for, well, since 2006. So, I'm going on 17 years. So I think you can say that it's been quite a solid jump. Um, but my friend Anne Deborah Goldman, that had this prayer house in Perea in Israel by the Kinneret, the Sea of Galilee. I would stay there, and I would come back, and I would come back, and I would help her with the prayer house. And she was enormous support for me. But she told me that she came from a little village up north. And I was like, that name is familiar, because I just learned that my mother's, what was it, uncle. Well, again, my memory right there. I also had to arrest myself. Oh, the dogs are doing their howl. Excuse them. But his name had been Israel's son, and he changed his name to Ivangen. And that was the last part of the family due to like a divorce generations ago, and we lost track. I never even heard about these people, right? So it turned out I did have Israeli blood on that side, and he came from that exact same village. And Deborah also had Jewish blood. So what do you know? That one person I end up staying with, we're probably related. And it's just the circle comes full. And the why I'm saying this is that there is a revival now in Norway. It started in the small villages in the mountains, and it grew bigger and bigger. And now they're doing the sports arenas, right? Like you had a revival here in Asbury, what's it called? Um, But the same is happening. I don't know this week. I haven't, I don't know what's going on right now. But isn't it interesting how things just come full circle. And then I learned that, okay, so my great grandpa, my grandmother, my mother, and me, 4 generations of believers. And now one of my sister's daughters also turned to faith, and we have a very small family. So that's amazing. So now we have 5 generations. And for me, growing up as an atheist, that is like to be able to sit here today and tell you guys there is a new revival coming. And you don't know what you have in your blood, and you don't know what God has for you. But keep an open mind and give room for miracles. And I just thought I would share this with you. We're going into Shabbat, sunset is coming. I'm going to have my rest day with my husband, baking some bread and some cake right now. So I'm sitting here in the hiker hostel. And but I thought I would put this video out. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures from my mom when she was a kid with her grandpa, my great grandpa. And don't hold on to hate. Whatever it is, God is bigger. Forgive and let go and let God, right? Do a teshuvah and give hope a chance. Blessings from Medawi, Alabama. Shalom.